So now you're at a point where you actually have video and you need to start getting traffic to it. So the first one I want to talk to you about is using paid methods within YouTube and Google to start sending traffic to that video immediately. Now this is kind of a complex mix of advertising types, so I'm going to walk you through each one and talk about some of the benefits or disadvantages of each one of them. This is now called AdWords for video. It was formerly known as YouTube promoted videos. There's a couple other big changes that happen here too. All the formats have changed. We're talking in search now, in Slate, in display, in stream, and they're available across multiple networks. Now before, it was hard for you to filter out the Google display network, but now it gets a lot easier. So you can target YouTube videos, YouTube search, and eliminate or split test the Google network. Now, if I'm talking about normal AdWords, right, the way that I would approach this is I would run ads just for videos, run ads, the same ads actually, just for search, and run the same ads just for display network and see what they do. And then I would tweak individual network as needed. Now, in this case, I think you're probably fine running in YouTube videos and YouTube search, and you'll get all the information you need to determine what's working and what's not. Now, the beauty of this is that it's super cheap, okay? Relative to normal AdWords, you'll be sitting at the cents per click range. And it's actually not per click anymore, it's actually per view, and I'll talk about that as I go. So let's talk about some ad basics before we get into there. Some of this is going to look very much like AdWords, so you're used to this. Now you want to stay standard with your delivery method. This is across all ad formats. This displays your ads evenly over time. If you have a high budget and you click accelerated, that just means they're going to force your ads out as much as possible. I will always tend to avoid the display network, as I just mentioned. They group them all together. It's checked by default. You want to make sure you click on Let Me Choose down here. It's where it says Let Me Choose. You want to make sure that you click on Let Me Choose here so you can go through and uncheck the display network when you select your different networks. So let's talk about the individual formats of ads. Now the first one, the one that we've used the most, is the insert video ads. This is basically saying, I want to pay for people looking at my videos, and I want to do this within YouTube for any keywords that I specify. You're paying for views now. You used to pay for clicks, but now you're paying for views. It's a very low cost per view though, because your minimum bid in most cases tends to be 1 cent to 10 cents. So it's a really, really, really low cost of entry here to start driving them in. Now remember, when we start to talk about YouTube, you need to drive views, drive comments, drive likes to start to actually consider ranking both within YouTube and within Google. Now, I'm showing a quick example of the in-search ads. This is when you go into YouTube and you actually do a search for video. You can see that your ad will show up either on the top or on the side, as you see down here in the red rectangles. The ad format's super simple. Very much like AdWords, except you have a picture. So you could say a headline, a longer description, a second description line about the same length, and a display URL. So you can see these ad formats that show right here. It also lists your username. So this is just an example of two ads that we're showing. Now you can't force a thumbnail. That's really important. You have to choose a thumbnail from the set that they give you. This is the method that I use more often than not, just because it is so cheap to get in. And for, I'm trying to remember an example. I had a term that sat around 90,000 searches a month in natural search. I paid $1,000 total, and I got to rank number 2 in video in both natural search and in YouTube search, and I get quite a bit of traffic from that video. So it's gotten a ton of views now, somewhere in the neighborhood of 100,000 plus. So my cost per view overall is actually quite low, and the return that I get from that is actually quite high. Now, the other benefit that you get with these is that you get to go and add a call to action to your video. So if you're promoting a video, you can get a clickable call to action. Now, the old format, you used to be able to annotate a video. You can still annotate a video, but it's not clickable. When you're promoting a video, you get the option to go back and add a clickable call to action. Now, the cool thing about this is that when you set up your targeting, you could bid on keywords which are really, 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 really long tail, because you're always paying per view. If people don't view your video, then you won't incur any cost, but you still get the clickable call to action. So this is something to think about. It worked really well for me, and I'm assuming it still works really well. I've used this in the past. I haven't used it near as much lately because I'm not doing this type of advertising, but this is a really good way to punch in and get a free clickable call to action just by bidding on super low competition keywords. Now, the next format that we're going to talk about is the in Slate video ads, and this is the ones that you see pop up either interrupting a video or showing up at the end of a video. So there's videos that pop up here and you have to pick one of them from the list. It's the same exact creative format as before, headline, description, description, and the same exact pay model as before, your CPV, cost per view. This is a really annoying ad format. This is not an ad format that I would say does really well. It's an ad format that I would suggest maybe testing, but it's not something that I'm going to assume is going to do really well for you because it hasn't for us in the past. The in-display video ads is a little bit different, actually. It allows you to either use a banner or the text ad, the version that we've seen before, is suggesting it to the right or to the upper right of the video in the red box. So if we're playing this particular video here, this is the fly fishing one I've used in a number of examples, it'll show up as a suggested video in the upper right-hand corner. These ones don't do bad at all. I would suggest maybe trying these out. And then, last but not least, of course, definitely not least, is the in-stream video ad. Here you're paying for views when somebody actually sits through your commercial. So if you have a 30-second commercial and somebody actually sits through the ad without skipping it within 15 seconds, if they get to halfway through the ad, then they actually will charge you. Google will charge you for the ad. Same thing can be said for if you have a 60-second ad and somebody sits through it and watches 30 seconds of it, you will get charged. This, again, is a super annoying feature for me personally. It's annoying for users. If you want to test it out, have at it. I personally am not a big fan of it. There's a few additional settings that you need to think about if you're going to start promoting your videos through paid platforms. You want to make sure that your ad rotation is set to rotate evenly. This is one of the types of things that happens in AdWords as well. You can either optimize for views, optimize for conversions, or select an even rotation. If I'm using multiple formats, I'm going to pick an even rotation because I don't want Google to pick, or I don't want Yahoo to pick which one they think is going to do better. I want to test across all platforms and figure out which one does the best for me. Now, the other one that you need to think about, because we're more on a cost per view basis, and in some cases we're actually running display type ads, is frequency capping. Now, frequency capping is really important. Now, if you put no cap on impressions, now what that means is if you're super targeted, then your ad could be showing to the same person a lot of times, and they could get really tired of you really fast. Now, the corollary to that is it could be great for brand awareness, but in most cases, if you see the same ad a ton of times over and over and over again over a long period of time, you're going to get pretty friggin' tired of it, and you may actually turn on that brand as a result. Now, to limit this, you can use frequency capping, and you can say things like, I want to limit this campaign to 10 impressions or 25 impressions or whatever per unique user, per day, per month, per week, whatever you choose here. When we're talking about display formats, this is a really, really smart thing to do. Now, what I would advise too is that you actually test frequency capping at different intervals. In different niches, frequency capping is going to vary in terms of its effectiveness. So if you set your frequency capping very low, it could work against you, and if you set it too high, it could work against you. So that's one of those kind of things that you have to test. Now, also, you do have the option to look at device targeting. This is another one of those situations where I would highly suggest split testing. So, if I have desktops, iPhones, tablets, I tend to choose, I want to run desktops and tablets as one set, then I want to run iPhones and mobile devices as a second set. Because the mobile device is a totally different experience, I want to know how that performs, and I want to know how desktops, tablets perform totally separately. So I would advise split testing across devices as well. Now, let's talk about targeting too. Targeting within this format is actually kind of interesting. Keywords offer the cheapest option. When you go and you select YouTube search keywords, basically what you do is you have an open box and you can add in as many keywords as you want. This is when I go back to Video Shadow and I look at the Google keyword tool, the Yahoo keyword tool, and I pull the terms out that I pulled from the beginning of my keyword research. So I looked at what niches I want, I captured the keywords I was interested in. Now I'm going to pull those keywords back and say, Now I'm going to promote my video, dump them all in there. You can set match types, exact, phrase, broad, just like you can in AdWords. And if you stick just to the YouTube search keywords, you'll see that your bid prices are relatively low and your cost per views are going to be relatively low. Now we're talking maybe 10 cents. You also have another set of parameters that are very broad, much more like a display type parameter. You can focus on demographics, you can focus on things like interests or display network targets, you can focus on things like topics, or you can go for managed placements much like you can with display targeting. Managed placements could be, I want to run my ad just on that website or just on this website. Now, doing that is going to give you a very, very, very small set of targeting options, but it could be very targeted, meaning that you know exactly what's happening there and how it's performing. When you start to get in display formats, you can control whether or not the ad actually plays on that site itself or plays the video within your YouTube channel. So if you want to jump from somebody else's website, if you're running in display, over to YouTube, if somebody clicks, you can do that. Or if you want to keep them on that site and play the video right there, you have the option to do that as well. But by and large, keywords are your cheapest option. It's so cheap just because you're going from YouTube search to a YouTube page. It's much like if you've ever been on Facebook. If you want to advertise a Facebook page on Facebook, it's actually super cheap to do that. Now, the other way that you can actually kind of get a little bit more press from YouTube is getting into the partner program. Now, the partner program is an invite-only kind of thing. It has a few requirements. You have to create your own original videos that have to be suitable for streaming. You have to own and express permission to all audio, all content, no exceptions, and you have to regularly update your channel. These are pretty simple. The partner program, though, also has some unspoken kind of rules within it too that I think are more on lines of what kind of ratings are you getting, how many views are you getting. So if you have a popular channel that you can see is scaling, then you will get an invite to the partner program eventually. As an example, I had a video that I put on that got 40,000 views and I got an invite to the partner program. I didn't sign up for it, but I got the invite. Now, when you're in the partner program, you get the opportunity to try to make money from your video content. When you post the video on there, you're basically telling YouTube, yeah, it's fine, run ads on my video, and if a user makes money from that ad, it's much like AdSense, you can kick some money back to me. So I can start making money from my own videos. Now, the other place that this gets kind of interesting is that you get a new set of analytics tools, content management tools, and when I say content management tools, it allows you to restrict your videos to certain communities based off of certain guidelines around licensing, and you can even get to the point where you can rent your videos out. So if somebody wants to rent your video, you could put up kind of like a trailer teaser type of thing, and you could rent it to people. But that's only if you're a member of the partner program. But remember, it's invite only, and if the focus of you using YouTube is to get sales, build leads, get traffic, then the partner program may actually work against you. So I would advise checking it out. If you have a video that's not doing anything for you, it's not sending you traffic, but it's getting a lot of views, then maybe I would go into the partner program. But by and large, these are all good methods to both help promote your videos and maybe get a little bit of extra money out of them.